Hello and welcome to episode 35 of Intruder Theatre in the Making podcast. I'm your host, Remi Rachuba, and thank you so much for tuning in. Now, it's been quite some time since I recorded a podcast episode, I think 3 months. I wasn't to record this episode. It was a recent change that made me think of recording an episode. And what happened was I was to perform at Camden People's Theatre in London on the 15th of March. However, that performance was cancelled, and it's now rescheduled for the 14th of April. I initially thought that maybe I could talk about my last 3 performances together. So Vault Festival, the Place Theatre in Bedford, and also Camden People's Theatre. However, when I recorded the episode including Vault Festival, I then realised halfway through it that episode had already 30 minutes. It was 30 minutes long. So then I thought, well, maybe I could just record a podcast on Vault Festival, and the following podcast episode will be on my performances in Bedford and Camden People's Theatre. That is going to be in April. So that's why it's been a little bit of a break. Coming back to my December episode, I then talked about performing at a Vault Festival. That's what I knew at that time. Also about my performances in Bedford, the Place Theatre, on the 11th of February. I knew, but it wasn't officially announced, that I'll be participating in the Spring Festival at Camden People's Theatre. Now, I know that, so I can share that. And also the other thing I talked about was, my case against my co-producer, and I hoped that it would finish in January, and it's not finished yet, and the hearing is to take place in May. So that is the latest update. I'm not going to really dwell on it too much. Jumping straight into the episode and talking about Vault Festival. So a little bit of an insight and history on Vault Festival. If I remember correctly, for people who are into theatre, I know there's quite a lot of people that are not theatre people, my friends, my colleagues, potentially abroad, who haven't heard of the festival. So Vault Festival is an annual festival that takes place in London. It's like an equivalent of the Fringe in Edinburgh, slightly smaller. It takes place in January, February, March, so 2 months. And it's near Waterloo Station, literally in the basement. It's very fringy. You can actually hear the trains running because Waterloo is a huge train station. So they converted their spaces there into theatre spaces, which looked amazing. Loads of spaces there for emerging writers, artists, performers, theatre makers. Great stuff. That was really it. And I think it's been ongoing for the last 10 years. The Fringe in Edinburgh has been happening for, I think, much longer. I may be wrong. I think Vault Festival may be 10 years old, but I may be wrong. The difference between Edinburgh Fringe and Vault is, as you might remember, I described Edinburgh Fringe. It's a huge festival, and over there you have various venues where you perform. Like I performed at Summerhall, and there is Gilded Balloons, assembly rooms. Here at a Vault Festival, there was just a Vault Festival, although I was performing, for example, at Network Theatre, brand new venue. I still reported, I emailed Vault Festival with any queries and questions that I had. So that's a little bit of background about Vault Festival. Now, apparently it's the very last year of Vault Festival. they've been told that they need to move because there will be some commercial spaces created where the festival is at the moment. So I think they didn't even they did a crowdfunder to let them stay, but I'm not really sure how that is going. So potentially it could continue in 2024 Vault Festival somewhere else, or it could be where it is if they raise the money that they want. So that's really all. Now, how did I get involved in a Vault Festival? So I've heard about it, and I actually wanted to present Intruder Intrus at the Vault Festival in 2022, but then I changed my mind and I thought, well, I wasn't really sure whether it was the right platform, the right place to platform my solo piece. So I said no, but then also the festival got cancelled because of COVID. So this year was the very first year that, took place after COVID. So I think they've had a break of 2021 to maybe 2 or 3 years. So then in 2022, I think May or June, I filled in my application form. I already had it from 2021. It was quite straightforward. I sent it through. I didn't even think about it because I was so busy with the Fringe 2022 Edinburgh. And then when I was in Edinburgh, after the premiere, I received a tweet from Beck Martin, and Beck Martin is the programmer for Vault Festival. She came to the premiere of Intruder at Summerhall, and then that's why a couple of days later she tweeted about the show. She was very nice and she praised my performance, and I was very, very grateful for that. So then it kind of made me think that potentially I could receive an offer to perform at Vault Festival 2023. And that happened in September. I got an offer, I got the contract. They initially wanted me to perform for 2 nights. Well, I actually wanted to perform for 2 nights, but also to perform twice each day. And I asked them and I said that because, the piece is so physically demanding and I'm so tired after one performance that I would prefer to do only one performance, and they went with it. So it was arranged and decided that I would be performing there on the 28th and 29th of January, I think 7:30 in the evening. And that was really it as far as Vault Festival. It was just a matter of promoting the show, but I couldn't really promote the show until the program was officially announced, and that took place in November. As you might remember with Summerhall, yes, I knew about me taking part in the Fringe at Summerhall already in, I think it was March, but I couldn't really announce it until May, when Summerhall announced the program. It was the same with the Vault. I knew it in September, but the program was announced in November, so officially I couldn't say that I was a part of the festival. In between, I was, as you might remember, busy with my performances here in London at POSC, then going to Warsaw, and then arranging my performances at Theatre 503, also arranging my performances at the Place Theatre in Bedford, and then also filling in an application to take part in Sprint Festival at Camden People's Theatre. But these 2 performances in Bedford and Camden People's Theatre I'm going to focus on in the next episode. Actually, it's going to be quite fun because of audiences, especially in Bedford. Raucous crowds. You would need to listen to that episode. I can't talk about my performances in April because they've not happened yet. So coming back to Vault Festival, I was in Warsaw when the program was announced, I really didn't see the press release for the announcement because I was busy, but also because I am not the very first person who checks things out. People do their own things and I do my own things. Yes, I did have posts for social media prepared for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram in Through the Play. That's the handle, but I didn't particularly check what the press release from Vault Festival was about the shows. But it was a couple of days later I did have a look, and to my surprise, I saw that Intruder Intros was the recipient of Vault Festival Pick of Summerhall Award, which I couldn't really believe at the beginning because, well, I was surprised, shocked and happy, elated. I mean, it was great, but I just couldn't really believe it. So, for anyone who may not know what that actually means, what is this award, a Vault Festival Pick of Summerhall Award? To my understanding, I may be wrong, it means that the programmer, so Beck Martin, was at the Fringe at Summerhall in Edinburgh, August 2022, and she saw some shows, and then some of the shows would then go to Vault Festival and be presented. And from the shows that would have been performed in Edinburgh, and which were then selected for Vault Festival, she would have picked one show that she liked. That's how I understand. However, I actually don't know of any other shows from Summerhall that went to Vault Festival apart from my show, which would make me think that were we the only one? Well, the only show that was performed at Summerhall and the Vault Festival, I don't know, but maybe they could have said, well, we maybe didn't want to award any shows, but we wanted to award your show. I don't know how it worked. I know that Beck Martin enjoyed my performance. I was very, very grateful to her for that award, and it's great because it was great for promo. Initially, when I read it, I needed to check the information, so I emailed Vault team and I said, hey people, is it actually true that Intruder Intros got an award? Because, I don't want to be promoting something that I will then find out that it's not true. And then they emailed back and they said yes, and then I emailed Beck Martin and I thanked her, and then I emailed Tom from Summerhall and told them about that, and Tom didn't know about it, so he emailed Vault Festival to double check if it was true, and then he came back to me and then he formally congratulated me on the award, which was quite a journey with the emails, and then that was in November when the program was announced, and it was just a matter of promoting the show. Of course, Christmas and then January, and then slowly preparing for Vault Festival. During Vault, I was also to reconnect with my technician Charles, who also composed music, the music that you can hear at the beginning of the podcast, and original music for the piece. We were rehearsing the piece in July 2020, and then we didn't work together because Charles now lives somewhere else outside London, and he couldn't help me with the performances here in London at Polsk and Theatre 503. So it was the very first time that we would have worked on the show. And I was very, very happy about it. And now another interesting thing that happened before Vault Festival. So before my performances, I went to see a couple of shows, and I went to see my colleagues' shows, and then one day, a befriended producer, we were just chatting, and I showed her my posters, and then she looked at the poster and she said, "Remi, when are you on?" And I said, "Well, we on the 28th and 29th of January." And then she said, "But look at your poster, look at your flyer." And I looked at it, and it said 28th and 29th of February. And I just couldn't believe it. And I thought, how was that possible to even have made that mistake? And then I concluded that, with various festivals, they ask you for a poster, and the poster can be whatever you want. However, with Vault Festival, they provided a template, and they wanted your poster to be like that template. Now, the template was on Photoshop, which I didn't have, and which also meant that I needed to have paid for Photoshop to actually have a poster for Vault Festival, which I don't think is right, because I can have my poster and I don't need to pay anyone or I don't need to pay to have a poster. So then I asked my friend, and I said, would you be kind enough to maybe work on that poster to put it in the template? And this is why when she did it, I provided her incorrect details and the date, and she did it, and it looked great. And then I asked that template to be printed with that mistake, and that's how it went. It was my mistake. It hadn't happened before, so what we did was we changed the flyers. So I immediately changed the dates on the flyers. Not the same day. It was after our technical rehearsal. I literally kind of put a different date on the flyers, and I swapped the flyers with the correct date. Just the flyers, not the posters. The posters were already handed out, and that was it. Now, our technical rehearsal took place on the 27th of January. It was a very short one. It was only for 3 hours, from 9 till 12. It was actually very short. It was at the Network Theatre, a brand new theatre, beautiful venue, and it was only me and Charles. We met in the morning, and another interesting thing happened over there. So when we got to the Network Theatre, Charles said, "Oh, is there a program? I want to have a look at the program." And I really didn't believe we were in the program, because for some reason I always thought that at Vault Festival everything needs to be paid for. So I said, "I don't think we're in the program," because I remembered that I didn't pay for anything. And then he grabbed a copy, and I think he looked at the program and he said, "Oh, I think I found it, it's there." So then we did our technical rehearsal, which went all right. I mean, I thought that it would have gone quicker, but it was slower than I expected, and slower because they had moving lights. I don't know much about lighting, but as far as I was told, moving lights, not easy to operate. So then we had Charles, and there was also the venues technician. So the venues technician needed to show Charles how to operate lights. So that's why it took a little bit longer. We did all the changes and lighting cues, and it was all fine. However, I still wanted to run through the show just to see how it works, how I feel in the space. But I only did half of the show. We simply didn't have time to do the rest. Literally at 12 o'clock we were told, that's it, finished. There was another company coming. I was actually quite worried and quite concerned because I was thinking, how are we going to do it? It never happened to me, but I really I really thought, well, I still rehearsed the show the day before at Theatre Delhi to myself, went through the lines, so I really depended on, thought that, well, I know what I'm doing. It would have been nice to have done a full run, but well, there was nothing I could have done. So then we went and talked about notes and the show and stuff like that, and then Charles looked at the program whilst I was actually looking at the flyers and putting the correct dates, and then Charles says to me, oh look, we're in the program. He didn't look at Intruder, the section where we are in the alphabetical order, all the shows are, but he looked at the beginning of the program, and that was page 14, and on page 14 there is the section called Programming and Civic Awards. So Charles didn't know anything about the award that we received, and he says, look, they write about Intruder, and I looked at it and I said, oh, it was great. And it says, award, Summerhall, which was amazing. And then I gave him back the program. And I went back to, putting the correct, dates on the flyers. And then he goes again and he said, but look, they put the wrong info under the title. And I'm actually looking at the info, and this is what it says. Intruder intrudes, Remi Rachuba. What happens when you mix Chrissy, an irresponsible ball of anxiety, with a classroom full of gullible teen girls? And I really didn't know what to think. I thought it was. I was like, wow, what is this? I mean, our show is not about gullible teen girls, so I was a little bit upset and a little bit frustrated. I checked the copy later on, in the section where all the shows are in the alphabetical order, and the copy was correct. It was just this section, but that's like one of the most sections is the sections on awards, and that's the wrong copy. So I emailed the team, Vault team, right away, and I said, I just want you to be aware of it, that's the wrong info. It was Friday. Thousands of programs were printed. There was nothing we could have done because we were performing the following day and then Sunday. So, well, I just wanted them to be aware of it. But I also didn't know what to do with it. I mean, yes, I did inform the team about it, but then how do I go about it? So then I emailed a couple of colleagues and theatre directors, and some of them said, you know what, maybe you can ask for compensation. Or someone said, you know what, it had happened to me before, so maybe you can email them and you can ask for something. I mean, potentially they're not going to do anything, but it's always worth trying. So then when we finished putting the correct dates on the flyers, we went back to Vault Festival and swapped the flyers, and I bumped into a lady from marketing, and I told her about the cock-up, and she said, yes, I saw that email, we're sorry about it, and that was it. I went and swapped the flyers, and yes, and was waiting for an email. But of course, my Saturday performance was approaching. So on Saturday, I performed my piece. There was quite a lot of people in the audience. I think 35 or 40 on Saturday, and I think 30 or 35 on Sunday, which was quite a lot. There was a couple of walkouts and young girls, so I concluded it must have been maybe girls who thought that, well, it was a show about gullible teen girls. That's why they walked out. So then I was actually very pleased with the show and how it all went on Saturday and Sunday. But then on Saturday, I saw what happened, and I think I spoke to my technician and I said, you know what, do you think we could maybe tell front of house, to tell people coming in that there was an error in the program, that it's not a show about, gullible teen girls? And then I was told that no, because front of house wouldn't do that. I should really email the box office, which really didn't make a lot of sense to me, because I thought, well, if people buy tickets online, they don't go to the box office, they go directly to the theatre, so how would they know? So on Sunday, I emailed the box office, but I didn't get their email back until Monday morning. And then the box office emailed me and said, Remi, you need to go to marketing to tell them about it. By that time, it was Monday, I said, listen, people. Well, I didn't say that, listen, people. I said, hello, hi. Just to make you aware, I actually performed yesterday. It was for the very last time. So nothing could have been done. And I waited for a week and there was no emails from the team. I also informed Tom from Summerhall, because I thought that he should have known about it, about that cock-up. And Tom was, as always, very reassuring that, he would bear that in mind. And then a week after that, I emailed the team, Vault team again, no emails. And in the end, I emailed Vault Festival's director, and I told him about it and I asked whether I could receive some compensation. He said, I'm sorry that it happened. He said that I wouldn't receive any compensation, that the section in the awards, the awards section was an additional thing, so they were not planning to do it. That was just something extra. As far as any financial compensation, that wouldn't be possible. The only thing that they could do was to spread some news about the show if I had any future performances. And because I had my performance at Camden People's Theatre, I said, yes, well, why don't we do that? There was always something. And yes, since that time, they've retweeted info about Intruder at Camden People's Theatre, so I'm very grateful for that. And now, because we are rescheduled, I'm also planning to ask Vault Festival to maybe do a couple of retweets if it's possible. Now, as far as audience feedback, we had amazing feedback from some of my colleagues and friends who came to see the show. It was great to see them. We had one 4-star review written by The Spy in the Stalls and Dominica, and it was so beautifully written. I really do appreciate what she wrote. She used to be an English teacher and now she writes reviews, so it was beautifully written. I really, really do appreciate it. Yes, we had a 2-star review. I'm not really sure whether I can say it was a review, because for me, it's a synopsis. It was a misinterpreted, for me, maybe misunderstood synopsis of the play, and whatever that person thought. And admitted to not understanding what it was all about. But you live and learn and see how different people can perceive and interpret your play. And it's always very, very interesting to read what other people thought of your play, but in this particular case, how they understood the story. And that was really it about Vault Festival. Maybe there were two other things that I'd like to mention. As far as press, I didn't do as many emails to journalists as I did before the Fringe. I just did maybe I sent, 20 or 30, not as many as before Edinburgh, when I sent, I think, 70. I was really positively surprised when I saw that Evening Standard selected Intruder Intrudes as their top show to see at Vault Festival, which was great. And I emailed them because they never emailed me about it, and I thanked them for it, and they came back to me and they said that they heard very good things about the show. So it was great, and I, used it for promo. That Intruder Intrudes is Evening Standard top show to see at Vault Festival. So that was great, and I've been using it since then. Another thing that I found out even after my performances at the Place Theatre in Bedford, it was the end of February, and I got a text from a befriended producer that I met at Vault Festival because they were still working on some other shows, and I got a message and a picture, and it says, "Look at this, Remi." And I'm looking at the photo, and there is posters of Intruder with the date 29th of February. And then I concluded, oh my God, someone at the Vault Festival didn't check when my show was on, so they actually put it on, as it said on the poster, 28th and 29th of February, when actually my show was a month before. So I emailed Vault team and I asked them, can I ask you for a favor? Could you actually take down the posters? Because my show was there a month before, not now. And then they said that, we really wanted to give your show an extra boost. In general, I was quite pleased with my performances at the Vault Festival. I would have done it again. I met wonderful people that I am still in touch with, loads of companies. I saw a couple of shows, very good shows. So yes, that was useful, and I would have never thought that when I applied to be part of Vault Festival 2023, that I would have received Vault Festival's Pick of Summerhall Award, that Intruder Intrudes would be Evening Standard top show to see at Vault Festival. Yeah, I never saw that coming. So that was my experience at Vault Festival that I'm very grateful for. And yes, from these performances, I then waited 2 weeks because I was getting ready to perform at the Place Theatre in Bedford on the 11th of February, and now waiting for my performances at Camden People's Theatre on the 14th of April. And then when I perform there, I will do my best to record a podcast episode and tell you all about it. But until then, stay well, stay safe, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye for now.